We are live.
Let's go.
Episode 36 of the GameDay Huddle. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for being here. We come to each and every week talking the sports weekend and kind of what's going on in the sports world. And we have an absolute packed show today, guys.
There's a lot of stuff to talk about, actually, and it's involving all sports.
It is.
It's a little bit of everything.
Yeah, it's definitely that time of year where you have all the sports have discussions because you got NFL offseason, training camps going on or just getting done.
Yep.
You've got the NHL playoffs just wrapped up. Golf has been in the news. I mean, as weird as that is, right? And the best golfers in the world are going other places.
Yeah.
But today we're going to kick off with the big and the not so big. And that is the Yankees and Astros. Altuve and Judge faced off this weekend. Talk about the, David and Goliath scenario with those two. Incredible series. It's being said already that there's a chance that this series could go down as one of the greatest all-time in-season series.
Yeah, they battled. They played some tough, close games. All the games came down to the wire except for the game the Yankees got no hit, which I'm sure Jay was going to bring up about 3 or 4 times before the end of it. But my boy Judge does this thing again yesterday. We're down 3 runs. LeMahieu hits a 3-run home run to tie it up in the 9th, and then Captain Clutch, Mr. All Rise, comes through in the bottom of the 10th and hits a 3-run walk-off, which, hey, he's been doing it all year.
Well, that's his second walk-off of the series.
Yeah.
Right? So Judge has 2 walk-offs in one weekend. I remember when we were talking about David Ortiz being super clutch because he had 2 walk-offs in a season. And now we're talking about Judge hitting 2 in the same series.
Yeah, the funny thing about that, too, is bring up the no-hitter that you actually brought up. I didn't bring it up, but bring up the no-hitter. That very next game, the one that Judge has walked off, they were being no-hit again. It was in the 6th inning, and they had no hits through 6. So they weren't just down 3-0. They were going to be going down in history as the only team to get no hit.
Well, so the Yankees, they were actually, there were 17 straight no-hit innings from the Astros in the series.
Yeah.
But
True.
It goes and it tells you kind of like what this matchups are and what these teams are made of. Mm-hmm. That the Yankees can flip a switch and at any moment it can go from nothing to something.
It just happened to be 17 innings worth.
Right. And then
I don't think we're worried about the Yankees and what they're going to be doing this year. I think what they've done so far has spoke for themselves. We don't have to worry about what they're going to be doing, if they're going to hit the ball. We know they're going to hit the ball. We know they're going to be just fine. Everybody goes through it for one game
But not everybody gets no hit. No, not everybody gets no hit.
Well,
not
to
everybody.
each his own. It just shows you the very next day.
I mean, is it the Major League average? There's 5 no-hitters a year. So five times a year someone gets no hit.
Yeah, but it just happened to the greatest team to ever play the first 2 months of the season or whatever it is. 3 months.
We had if I recall, if I'm not mistaken, there was do you remember the year the Rays were had that unbelievable lineup that was like Evan Longoria and all those guys, right? Yeah. They got no hit 4 times in the season. That season they got no hit 4 times and they still were playing in the ALCS.
But did they win the World Series that year?
I mean, have they ever won a World Series is the question, right?
They have not.
So here's the thing. Great series. It was incredible. Obviously, you had Javier who threw, an incredible game, and he could have kept going. Yeah. He could have kept going. And we don't talk about him enough on that team because he's such a young player. Mm-hmm. He is an absolute horse on that staff. I know Verlander is the ace, but this guy is not far off from being the ace of this staff once Verlander's gone. He is really, really good. And then we talk about the walk-offs, but the way that the walk-offs have happened, we give Judge all the credit, but we really got to look at the way the walk-offs have happened with the Yankees, and that is if LeMahieu doesn't hit the 3-run bomb to tie it, if it doesn't get table set like it's supposed to, that's a team effort. That's them putting together the comeback as a team. That gets overlooked because Judge hits the big bomb, and that's the most exciting thing. But realistically, top to bottom in this lineup, there's not many holes. So incredible series. It's great for baseball, especially because as much as there's Yankees haters out there, right? There's also Astros haters.
Yeah.
And so to have a big series like this be, kind of the big talk of the weekend, I think.
But let's face it, like as far as like people hating both those teams, if they were to meet in the ALCS, they would probably break records for viewership.
For sure, absolutely, everybody would watch.
Yeah. So Major League Baseball wants it.
And everybody would be pausing and rewatching to see who stole what signs and how they did. Because that would be the entire talk, would be which team's better at stealing signs from each other.
I think it would be a great.
During the no-no, I was just asking, where's the trash cans at? Maybe we need to get some trash cans.
Right.
Because I guess that's how you steal signs if you're Astros. But it is what it is. Good job.
So, AL West.
But here comes the Red Sox.
Right, yeah. The Red Sox are on their way. Red Sox just won, I think it was 8 or 11 in a row or something like that.
Yeah, but you guaranteed last week that
they're out.
Okay.
They are number one in the wild card right now.
Right now?
That they're out?
That they will not make the playoffs.
They lead the wild card.
Right now.
Right now, you're in. So
you're almost halfway through the season.
$20.
Done.
$20 Red Sox.
Red Sox do not make the playoffs. Write it down. Book it.
So,
tell your brother put in his notes.
Red Sox are number one in the wild card right now. One of the teams that was up in the wild card, the Rays have had a little bit of bounce back.
Yeah.
Now, those teams are not playing each other right now. So the AL East is not playing each other, so they're beating up on other divisions and other teams. Yeah. Don't miss that, right? Yankees, obviously.
The whole month of July, they go back and they play each other every single week.
They do. And then that's when you're going to be able to tell when these teams actually are matching up against each other. With that said, the AL West, obviously we know the A's are out. The A's are, cellar dwellers at this point. We knew that at the beginning of the season. I'm not talking smack. That's just being realistic.
Unrealistic.
The Angels and the Mariners, though, are in really unique spots. Yeah, the Angels had that big fall off. They're still around. They're not quite where they were, but they're still around.
Right.
Ohtani is now number 2 in the AL MVP discussions again, behind Judge.
Yeah.
They're doing some things. So the circumstance occurs the other night, runners at second and third, 1 out, Trout comes to the plate. Now, earlier in the season, most people don't know or paid attention to this. Service pitched to Trout in an extra innings game in Seattle, did not walk him, and Trout hit a home run. So they are going to walk Trout here. Instead of walking him intentionally, they pitch around Trout, but the first pitch of the at-bat goes over Trout's head. So that sparks a response because, as the beat writer for the Angels said, it was the most mad they've ever seen Mike Trout. He was absolutely furious. Everybody in the ballpark knew they were walking him. He was barking, apparently at Service, about not walking him, because all you have to do now is throw up 4 fingers and send him. You don't even have to throw the pitches anymore.
Right.
But they pitched to Trout. They threw up at his head. He was real pissed about it. He ended up walking him. No secret. Now you come into the next game, next morning. Julio Rodriguez sees one up at the Dome. He ends up having his plate appearance done, and then Jesse Winker sees this pitch.
Times, and he has pitched out of the pen in Salt Lake.
And he just hit Winker. Erica with the first pitch. Scott Service is calling for him to be thrown out of the game. And Winker's trying to get towards Phil Nevin. And the Angels and the benches have cleared. And Justin Upton comes in. And we have chaos. Can't remember the last time we have seen one of these with the Angels and an opposing team, and it's not done. It is not done. Oh, right now, Raisel Iglesias.
Yeah, they were teammates, remember, in Cincinnati.
That is the furthest shot put of sunflower seeds in history.
So
I didn't see any of this.
Right. So this is great, right? So apparently Winker and him played together with the Reds.
Okay.
must not have liked each other, whatever it was. When Winker flipped off the crowd, that's when he came out of the dugout and got into a barking match after the after party had already happened. This was like the next morning. These guys are now fighting. What you're hearing, at least the initial discussions on this, are multiple players, 10-game suspensions. Managers are probably going to be suspended. The weird thing is that there was no warnings issued prior to the game from the exchange from the night before from the umpires. The umpires said there was absolutely no way. If you went to the game or watched the game the night before,
You knew something.
you knew this was going to happen.
It happened in the second inning. It was very early.
Early.
It wasn't like,
Because what it was they started a spot guy instead of the actual starter to come in to specific. I mean, literally, it was done to specifically have this moment. I believe they actually wanted to go after J-Rod, and then when they missed with J-Rod and he went up around the head, they decided not to hit him. And then they ended up dotting Winker, and then, that goes off. You had Crawford throwing multiple punches, Julio Rodriguez throwing multiple punches. You have a couple of the Angels who came out of areas that they shouldn't have came out of, which are all suspendable things. So when this all gets done, what this does is the AL West, which is about to do what the East we just talked about doing, start playing each other. The Astros are going to be playing these teams with these guys suspended. Mm-hmm. And even if they go and they, file for, to try to, change their suspension or whatever, they're still going to miss games. These guys are probably going to end up serving them. We'll find out who all is going to get done. So Winker went after Nevin is the thing there. He was going after the Angels coach.
Oh,
and Nevin and Service played against each other too. They came from the same era.
Yes.
They played against each other.
Yes. So they actually were buddies at one point, but apparently that's tailed off over the last few years. So that's also part of this as well. So now fast forward, we're here. And I guess baseball needed this. We needed another little rivalry to kind of pop up because the rivalries that we've been relying on for so long are not the rivalries they were. I'm seeing Rafael Devers give high fives to Judge at second base now. That didn't happen.
Never would have happened.
That didn't happen.
Yeah.
Right? You're seeing that rivalry isn't what it once was. You're not seeing that in baseball. The Cubs Cardinals is just not good anymore. Right? So something new, something fun. I don't know, but this is it's gonna have an impact on where these teams are at the end of July.
Yeah, because like you said, Houston's gonna end up playing these teams that are beat up. The A's may even go on a winning streak.
Maybe.
Who knows?
I'll take that bet.
I'm not getting crazy. Did you see the fan that sent Winker a pizza?
Yes.
What?
Yes. But here's the thing.
To the stadium.
But now let's talk about it. The guy delivered the pizza.
Yeah.
He had to come in the park to deliver it.
Yeah.
So the place that took the thing is already getting, that's local in Anaheim.
Yeah.
They're now getting like death
Don't buy
threats
from
and all
them.
that stuff, right? Because they delivered the pizza to deliver to Winker that came into the stadium and into the crowd during the game.
Yes.
Well, we know how good Anaheim's security is. Dave walks in with a pocket knife still in his pocket.
Right.
And we all look at each and then so we're walking into the stadium. Dave's like, "Oh shit, I got my pocket knife on me." And he walks through the metal detectors. The security goes after the guy directly behind Dave.
Yeah, it doesn't go after
Doesn't
Dave.
go
at all.
after Dave. They go after that guy.
Dave's like, what do I do?
I'm like, just go.
Just
like,
keep walking. Just keep
just
walking.
keep walking.
Kid. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
security there.
pretty crazy. But yeah, so that went on. Another thing, and we're just the LA team, but going back, the Atlanta Braves welcomed back Freddie Freeman this weekend. Now, Jay, you had some comments about this in regards to his reception back and how he handled himself.
Yeah, I like Freddie Freeman. I'm not a Braves fan or a Dodgers fan, but I like Freddie Freeman. I think he's a class act. As you said off air a little bit, he doesn't really speak. You don't really see him doing any kind of engagements with anybody. So he basically said he was looking forward to this moment a couple of months ago when he saw it on the schedule, and he's going to get his World Series ring. So obviously he's going to be emotional from that. His first time back in Atlanta after signing with the Dodgers. Which was his choice, by the way. It wasn't like he was traded.
Right. He
his
chose to
agent worked out the deal because he's from Southern California, right? So he could have stayed with Atlanta. He kind of gave them a deadline, and they didn't meet the deadline. So anyways, he goes up, and you can see he's holding back tears. The whole thing is kind of emotional, and it's like you kind of feel for the guy. He clearly didn't have like a speech prepared, but he went on talking for quite a while, and he was kind of repeating the same thing over and over again, how much he loved Atlanta, how much he loved the Atlanta fans. No matter what happens, I know I have a different uniform on, but I love all of you. Thank you for, being welcoming to me and my family for the last 12 years, blah, 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 blah. Well, it was a good long 3-minute speech, and then it was like, okay, boom, now it's time to play. And then they asked the Dodgers dugout about it, the clubhouse, and Clayton Kershaw was like, I feel for him. That was, a great response, this and that. It was a big accomplishment. I just don't want to play second fiddle. So that kind of sent the message like, you could have just not said anything, or you could have just talked to him in the clubhouse afterwards, or like a day or two later or whatever. But the fact that he went out in the media and said, I hope we're not playing second fiddle, like, what does he think Freddie Freeman's going to do? Is he going to drop a ball thrown to him so that they lose a series against the Dodgers? Is he going to strike out on purpose? Like, come on. Like, we're all grown adults here, right? You've done stuff in the past, Clayton, that maybe didn't get the Dodgers where they needed to go. Did they call you out and say, man, like, is that because you played, high school ball with this kid? Like, I don't know. I thought it was kind of a poor taste by Clayton Kershaw. I thought it was just bad timing. Like, let the dude enjoy his moment. Yeah, he doesn't talk a lot, so it kind of went on forever. But, like, let the dude enjoy his moment. He's crying. Let him once the game starts, he's playing for the Dodgers, and he's going to do everything to help the Dodgers win. He's not going to tank a game so that the Braves win. So you're not playing second fiddle.
Right, and the Dodgers won. Am I not mistaken? They won that game, right?
All it does too is add cracks into
to the clubhouse.
In the clubhouse, like you just don't need stuff like that. And we talk about that even in the workplace. Like, we're all grown men and we bust balls, but eventually, like, people start taking offense to certain things.
Right.
And if you say things that people don't have the thick skin like most people have or some people have,
right?
Then all it's gonna do is crack that cement that you want to build, and then now that team's gonna be looking. Everybody's gonna be slant-eyeing at everybody every time they talk.
And heaven forbid they lose 3-4 games in a row somewhere down the stretch. They're going to be like, here it is. Like, they're falling apart because of the club. Or it's going to
Clayton Kershaw doesn't get over on a ground ball. Freddie Freeman thinks he should feed it to him. Now they have a discussion out on the field.
Right.
That spills over because you see it on camera. These are the things that always happen, right? Mm-hmm. And, like, to me, my first thing that comes to mind when I hear Clayton Kershaw talking about this is, didn't you try to go with your best friend Seager to Texas. I'm confused. Didn't you try to do that, but then the lockout occurred?
Yeah.
And had the lockout not occurred, you were going to be a Ranger?
Right. Are the Dodgers playing? Are they playing?
So are they playing second fiddle to you? Right? Like that's the things that comes to my mind as soon as I see this stuff.
And you're right, because you see people playing together a lot, right? And they're teammates, and sometimes you get heated with the teammate, but then it's like it's done, right? You kind of like you're like, hey, you need a bot. You see them yelling at each other, but then it's done. If that happens between Freeman and Kershaw, it's going to be headline news
for a week. Yeah. For a week, it's going to be discussed, easily. Right, till his next start. Crazy. Trade deadline time, man. We are coming up on it, and you got guys that are being mentioned now that maybe hadn't been mentioned before. You got guys that are being discussed. We've talked about some of these guys, but I wanted to kind of talk to you guys a little bit about some of the teams that are being mentioned. We talk about how good the Yankees are, but the Yankees need a second baseman. The Padres, they're happy with C.J. Abrams right now, but apparently they want something a little more veteran there, maybe a right-handed bat. I'm not sure, but it sounds like those two are kind of looking for a second baseman. That's two contenders that are looking for the same player in the same position. That usually drives a market.
Yep.
So what are you guys seeing on the market as far as trade talks go? Who are you seeing, potentially moved and really kind of piques your interest for this trade deadline?
The two names that stuck out to me right away when I was going through the list of like possible trade, candidates is Ian Happ from the Cubs. Like we've been talking about Contreras for a while now, right? Like he's probably going to be moved. We even named a couple of teams that he could go to, but this is the first time I've seen Ian Happ on the list. He's obviously the left fielder from the Cubs. Some of the potential suitors that I read up on that would be interested in Ian Happ is all big-time contenders right now. The Atlanta Braves, San Diego Padres, and the New York Yankees.
Who would have thought a year ago the Braves would be interested in looking for a outfielder?
Yeah.
Right?
But now that you added...
They traded Pache, though. You got to remember.
You had the DH into the National League. Now that opened up the market for everybody.
Yep. Azuna is now your DH. And
just like the Yankees don't need help in outfield. If you look at their outfield, they're pretty set in the outfield. But if you look at it, you're like, oh, shoot, we can put Stanton to DH and add a better defensive player.
Well, and that's what I think.
Correct.
That's what the Yankees need is a better defensive outfielder.
Correct.
Because
Yeah,
you're
we need
playing
them to
Judge.
pitch, but yeah.
You're playing Judge in center field now instead of Judge usually plays in right field. He's been playing in center lately.
That's where he's probably gonna get hurt.
So yeah, the problem is you keep moving these players around to these different spots that they're not comfortable and not used to. They get hurt. They do different things. So yeah, you need depth and defensively depth. Definitely, the Yankees need help with.
Well, and there's multiple teams that are definitely in for that. And I think Ian Happ's an interesting player because I think he's a guy that when he's got people around him that are successful, he thrives off of it. I think back about how well he played when you had Bryant, Javi Baez, those guys were producing, and he was right in the thick of it producing as well. So when you take him and put him into a lineup somewhere that has that type of players around him,
He's a good veteran player.
Yeah.
Yes. He's one of the guys that when he comes into the clubhouse, you're gonna get a guy that plays ball.
Right, you're gonna get that veteran leadership that's gonna come. There's not this rookie that's trying to make a name for himself. It's a guy that's towards like not the end of his career, but like he's already made a name for himself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's not there to prove anything.
He
And that's
will
the
be
kind of
moved
guys you go get at
to
the
see
trade
where he
deadline.
is.
Though. You get those, and you get the farm system.
I'm just really curious about who's going to move for that or make the moves because those contenders also do have some young guys that are sitting there that are about ready to be promoted.
Yeah,
I mean, I've been obviously a proponent of saying Hassel is going to be in the major leagues this year. He should be up with the Padres now with the help they need in the outfield. He probably should be playing now.
The next name I want to mention was Frankie Montas from the A's.
Yeah.
I'm an A's fan, but the Yankees actually weren't listed as one of the potential suitors. But I know that you said that they may be in the market looking for a pitcher. Blue Jays, Cardinals, and Dodgers are the ones, and I thought the Blue Jays was an interesting one because that kind of shows they're possibly buyers.
Well, the Blue Jays, their problem is that Nate Pearson has not been what it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Their best pitcher was a rookie last year, right? Manoah, right?
Yep.
And one more starter, I can't think of his name, but he has faltered as of late in the last month. Gossman has not pitched well, and Gossman should be pitching well and hasn't, right? So they're in an interesting spot because they're a team that can just score runs, but they definitely need arms. And then we've been talking about the Cardinals for a while, and the Cardinals just lost 8 out of 11. So we talked about the Cardinals were legit, but the Cardinals lineup was legit.
Yes.
We didn't talk anything about their pitching being legit.
No.
In fact, we mentioned that Wainwright was, I think you called him Father Time.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he was on the World Series team that beat Boston Red Sox 20 years ago or whatever it was. I felt like he was on that team too. Like I feel like he's I don't know I don't know when he started, but I feel like he's been there forever.
He's been around for a while.
No, he is.
Yeah.
I just saw 15 minutes ago the Mariners actually made a deal. They acquired Carlos Santana from the Kansas City Royals for 2 right-handed pitchers.
Wow. That's first baseman DH right there for them.
36 years old, but they said he's got the month of June he's batting .357 with 8 runs.
You know what that move is right there. That is knowing that they're suspensions are coming.
Correct.
They know they're going through a gauntlet and they can't afford to lose. That's an incredible. You know what? As much as we knock front offices in baseball for being so bad, that's a damn good move to go get a guy that's a switch hitter, that is veteran, that can play. And what did they give up for him?
They
Probably
gave up Wyatt Mills and minor league pitcher William Fleming.
Yeah, and Mills was a late defensive outfielder for them. So
that's what they got. That's the only trade I saw come through, but I just saw it came through 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, it's crazy, and you're going to start seeing these trades come through.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have anybody else that was on the radar that you
just
kind of thinking?
Just Montes.
Brian, I mean, 2 other names that just stuck out real quick. We won't go into detail, but Brian Reynolds from the Pirates, and then Brandon Drury from the Reds.
Now, Brian Reynolds has played incredibly well in the last month. He started really slow, and he was really good last year. So if he is back to what he was last year, a team will be getting an upgrade on almost anybody they have in their lineup. I would argue the Yankees probably wouldn't at second base because of LeMahieu, but if LeMahieu's been hurt and he's having a DH, then that would be a move.
The Yankees are a potential suitor for him also, as shows you they're going after outfielders.
Yeah.
They've been, LeMahieu's been playing first.
Yeah. So there you go. So at second, and Brian Reynolds would be a really nice piece for that team. And then Drury is an interesting guy because he's very streaky.
Yeah.
Incredibly streaky.
Yeah, you know the Reds are going to be sellers. So.
Yeah, the Reds are literally going to turn over half their major league roster.
As they should.
And as a side note for the Reds, I don't know if you guys saw it, the TikTok. If you haven't had a chance to go see it, go take a look at the TikTok that Joey Votto did. So there's a little girl that came to an Angels game to see him. She was a Reds fan, and he got ejected in the first inning. And she went viral from getting ejected. And so he had this video that he sent a baseball up, signed for her and everything. And then circle back, the little girl makes an appearance at the game yesterday to see Jesse Winker play because she was a Reds fan and see Winker. And Winker got ejected in the second inning. So they're actually saying that it's her fault. And she's like 7 years old. It's not even fair. It's brutal, but...
She's a big band like the GOAT was in Chicago.
Exactly. Well, guys, it's time to talk fantasy. This is where Jay gives you how and where to set up your fantasy lineups. He's got some thoughts for you guys today. Jay, what do you got in fantasy for us?
All right, so there's two big names that obviously have gotten injured most recently is Bryce Harper. Obviously, he got hit by a pitch, possibly out 8 weeks. So that's big.
Thumb, right?
Yeah, fractured thumb. So that's big. And then Salvador Perez. Torn UCL in his left thumb, and that's a Kansas City Royal who's actually got a pretty big bat. So one of the names on the list is Vinny Pasquantino. Obviously, the guy that you think is going to take over for Perez is MJ Melendez, but they've already been splitting time between DH and catcher.
Yeah.
So he's a guy that's been owned in almost 75% of leagues. So he's not going to be on your waiver wires, MJ Melendez. That's the guy who's kind of taking over, but that frees up a spot for a DH spot. And they're saying this Vinny Pasquantino kid, he's only owned in 30% of leagues, but he can play first base and obviously be DH. So that someone could fill that void for Perez being out. Another Boston Red Sox. I know you like talking about the Red Sox. Jaren Duran. He actually has been batting leadoff.
Yep.
10 out of the last 11 games, and he's putting up pretty big numbers. He's actually batting .333, and he's only owned in 32% of leagues right now. So that's another name that was the guy. Remember, we talked about this a few weeks ago. They needed that spark plug at the top of the order, and it seems like Duran may be the guy. So and
Duran was a guy that came up, and then they sent him back down, and this is what happens. He gets sent back down, and both in the fantasy world and in the card collecting world, people go, oh, he got sent down, and they start fire selling, right? And that's why you don't see him owned in a lot of leagues, and you see people selling off his cards, and then all of a sudden, he takes off, and they're like, wait, what happened?
Right.
You got to remember, these young guys, 21, 22 years old, they got to retool. Sometimes the lights are bigger than that. What you don't know is like all these photo shoots and all this nonsense that they go to before the games and all these things they have to do, these media appearances and all this stuff. That can wear on a young player. And you're seeing that happen also in San Diego with C.J. Abrams. It's the same thing. Abrams has now come back, and now he's played 11, 12 straight games.
But the fact that you can move him up and down now more freely, which makes a huge difference.
It does.
Like you said, they brought Jeter Downs for what?
For one game.
So it's like now you have that luxury of doing that. But it looks like Duran may be here to stay, especially if he keeps on putting up those numbers in the leadoff spot. Another guy owned in only 20% of leagues is Isaac Paredes from Tampa Bay, third baseman.
Yeah.
He's another guy I look to add. He's got a little bit of power, and he actually walks more than he strikes out currently, so that's another guy you want to add to your lineup.
Yeah, and you got guys coming back too. So Wander Franco just returned to the lineup. For the Phillies, Schwarber is about to return. So that's going to help at least a little bit with the Bryce Harper missing. But, let's be fair. I think Bryce has now proved he's the best hitter in baseball.
Yeah.
The last 2 years, there's no doubt that Bryce Harper is the best hitter in baseball. And for any team to be missing the best hitter in baseball, I don't care what you have behind him.
That's a huge hole for
That's
him, too.
huge.
Like, that's the kind of stuff that's just so unlucky that you get hit in the hand and you break your...
And it was my Padres. And you know what's sad about that? Is that those two are actually friends from when they were like 12. They've been playing against each other. Snell and Harper have been playing against each other since they're like 12. Snell was like actually really, really upset about it to where like he was on the phone with Harper right after the game.
I'm sure he saw Harper.
Malicious.
Well, Harper at the time was screaming, was pissed.
Yeah.
And then Snell was like, he immediately yelled over to Harper and was like, bro, you know that was like, you got away from him. And then Harper turned and like gave him the nod like, yeah, you're right. Sorry, it was...
and Harper said he was heated.
He was heated, and he's like, it wasn't on purpose.
That's Harper, though.
Yeah. It is Harper.
That's
but that's pretty sad for that team because the Phillies were really riding Harper this year.
Yeah.
They really were. And for them to be in contention this year, I don't think they're a team that should be in contention.
No.
And the fact that they were in contention to at least be sniffing the playoffs, that has to do with that. So we talk about fantasy. We don't talk about a lot about the draft, but we do have the Major League Baseball draft coming up. And what is that, July 17th? Because it usually happens. Now the World Series is pushed up a little bit, so it's not overlapping anymore.
The 17th to the 22nd.
Yeah, so you got that coming up. There's a guy that's really being talked about, right? I mean, crazy. And his name's Ben Joyce. And, let's take a look at it.
We'll have to resume it later on in the year. I've got a big arm on the mound. Right-hander Ben Joyce just clocked in at 101 miles an hour. He steps in 102. He's got Cole Abrams standing in. Let's do it again. Got him. It was with their bullpen. 103.
So as you guys see, during the College World Series, he hit 103.5. During the regular season, he was clocked as high as 105. He pitches around 102 on average. He's a guy that I don't think at the beginning of the year was being discussed. He's from Tennessee. He wasn't a guy that was being discussed to be in people's radars. He kind of came out on the back end, not even the ace of the staff there. He's a very raw player, but he is one of those guys that is putting the sport back on the radar a little bit. 105 gets the casual fans' attention.
Yeah, it was the fastest pitch in college baseball, 105.5, and they said that only 2 pitches have been recorded higher than that, and they were both by Chapman, 105.7 and 105.8.
And I will tell you this, they're pitching with different baseballs. The baseball that Chapman pitches with, you can throw harder. I know that when I was coming up, when I threw a Major League Baseball, I was always 2 miles an hour harder with the Major League Baseball than I was with any other baseball I played with, because they're wrapped so tight and everything is so seamed tight, right, that the ball has less resistance, whereas most of the other baseballs, they're cutting a little bit of costs and whatever, aren't wrapped as tight, and so there's a little bit more air resistance. So the fact that he's throwing this in college, I mean, is he going to throw 107?
That'd be huge.
Now, there's arguments out there that say that Nolan Ryan, because this was before we were really like doing a pitch tracking like this, that Nolan Ryan was actually now pitching in the 105s.
But you're never gonna know because you have no way to track.
Not really. You can try to do the
Nolan
timing
Ryan's,
on a recording, but even that, there's delays. There's all this stuff. But I think it's fun to kind of talk about a guy like this. You're talking about the baseball draft. Baseball usually doesn't get the draft talked about.
No.
And this guy is definitely creating some buzz. Major League Baseball draft's going to be looked at. I also think that because guys are fast tracking so much quicker to the major leagues now, that this is the case. And one I want to bring up, and the reason why I wanted to bring him up was we talk about Henry Davis, right? Henry Davis is number 1 overall pick this last year. Henry Davis is on his 3rd stop in the major leagues or minor leagues already. Did you realize that?
Yeah,
he's 3 stops in.
Yeah.
Like, this kid's going to be in the major leagues next year.
Yeah.
Right? You got guys, Marcelo Meyer playing incredibly well. He's moving quickly. You now have guys that are just jumping Double-A to the major leagues.
It all goes back to the lockout of last year. And then they changed the ruling of how these ball clubs now can handle these rookies, where they can bring them in and not lose their basically hold on the player. Because before, if you would have a guy like, say, Wander Franco, you got to keep him for 3 years in the minors. Because if not, then you didn't get his 4th and 5th year option. If you didn't have him, if he touched the major leagues at all, you lost those 4th and 5th options. So now they got rid of that rule, so you can play them whenever you want coming up. And they still get that 4th and 5th year option with them. So,
and you're seeing it with guys like Julio Rodriguez starting the season on a major league roster. Bobby Witt starting on the major league roster.
Which is great for baseball.
Yeah, because those are guys that would have sat for a month and a half down in the minor leagues to then come up and not ruin a year eligibility.
And
now
also
that they
for
can.
a hobby too as well. Because
Huge.
now instead of holding on to those Bowman first cards for 4 years and not even knowing what you have, the good stud players are going to be.
You got guys like Sawinski of the Pirates who came up and literally his first Bowman is out this year and he's in the major leagues right now. So you have that. Now we didn't mention it, but real quick I did want to mention O'Neal Cruz did make it back to the major leagues this year, and man, is he everything that everybody wished for. His stint last year, I think, was not really a fair shake for him. We talk about young guys coming up and then going down. He's a really good example of it. He's here to stay. He's really exciting.
His arm is what's
like Cannon, dude. Like you see the
God.
one play.
Yeah, but he already has like 4 or 5 doubles.
Yeah. No, he don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. His bat's
Yes.
amazing, but this kid from short, he has the best arm I've
I
ever
saw it.
seen.
Like he's
6'7". You know, and he reminds me, now that I watched him play a little bit, he reminds me of Tulowitzki with power.
Yeah.
And that power arm and that power bat is what Tulowitzki didn't have.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
Right?
kid's the real deal.
Like
And
Tulo
he's
could
huge.
flip the ball, but
He's
not
6'7".
Yeah. So pretty cool. Congratulations to Ole Miss. They are the College World Series champions. They ended up winning 2 games. Jimmy, you had something to say about it. You thought pretty good game too.
Yeah, so game 1 was pretty much, it was a close game through the end. Ole Miss ended up taking it towards the end, but game 2 was impressive. Both pitchers came out throwing lights out. It was 0-0 going into the 6th. Oklahoma got kind of hosed on the call, which we all agree. We talked about it earlier. It was the right call.
It's in the rules. Yeah.
It's in the rules. If you take a step inside the baseline, your right foot hits inside the baseline before you get to first, and the ball impedes with the first baseman. Guess what? You're going to get called out. Well, it would have been second and third with 1 run aboard. Instead, they ended up getting, it was at the time, no runs for the inning, which it looked like it was going to be a huge turn in momentum for Oklahoma. Now, that doesn't happen. They call them out. Next batter up, strike out. Next batter up, pop out. They get out of the inning without giving up any runs. Ole Miss, very next batter, boom, home run.
Yep. And when that happens, it's the momentum gets killed, and it always falls to the pitcher's favor in that scenario. That even though the mistake was on their end, it wasn't on their end.
It gives you a second to calm your thoughts, get yourself back into it.
Yeah.
If not, you just created
And the hitter presses.
second to third.
Yep.
You're now in your head.
Yep.
It was about 90% Ole Miss fans there at the game too. So it was rocking. When that guy, I think his name's Gonzalez. Yes, it was Gonzalez. Came up, hits the home run in the bottom of the 6th. Beer going everywhere. It was like it was a party, and you could tell these guys are going nuts. Oklahoma then comes back, scores 2. They take the lead. Here comes Ole Miss. A couple errors from Oklahoma. Great game. They ended up, winning it pretty easily down the stretch. We won by 2, but it was fun.
They deserve it. They had good pitching. They played well in the playoff portion of the college season. They fell off a little bit in the middle of the season, whereas they were highly ranked
They were
prior
number
to that.
1 ranked throughout the year. There was different times they were ranked number 1. Then it comes down to the selection.
Yeah.
They didn't even know that they were going to get in.
Yeah.
They were like one of the last teams to get into the actual playoffs.
Yeah.
So, fun times.
Yeah,
Not many times do we get to talk about college baseball, but it was.
No, well, and we're going to, because I think that we're now discussing college sports a little differently because of the NIL, and that's going to bring us to plus or minus. Now, plus or minus is the portion of the program where we talk about investments, talk about what you can do in your collection to either make some money or save yourself some money. And talking about the NIL was really important for us. We mentioned it a couple weeks ago, and Jay and I definitely wanted to circle back on it. And we want to talk about the Bowman U product in specifically. Both college and or basketball and football. And the reason we want to talk about it is because it's a really inexpensive product in the marketplace right now. I mean, you're talking in store right now. We have Bowman U basketball at $160 a box for a hobby box. That's with 2 autos, multiple hits, colorways, all the Bowman hits that you would expect to have. To be that inexpensive for a hobby product is a really good buy. And I'm a big proponent of this product because I believe that these leagues and or the manufacturers, so either Major League Baseball, basketball, whatever it is, or Topps, Panini, whatever it is, they're going to lay it out for us on how we're going to progress going forward. And what we know is Fanatics acquired Topps. Topps is putting out Bowman U. They're playing with the Bowman First concept that they play with in baseball. And then what they're doing here is that Fanatics went and acquired the license for college sports so they can now also include, moving forward, the logos of the teams and all of those on it. And the Bowman U product, what they did that was really fun is that they put firsts in there. They also put prospect cards of these.
Yeah.
They didn't get all the big names in basketball they would have liked to. Like Banchero's not in there. Your number 1 overall pick. But Holmgren is in there.
Yeah, sure.
You also, Sharp is in there. You got these guys that actually, were being talked about during the draft. This product, what it is this is a great time to get in on something that you're going to be a year or two ahead of. Because what's going to happen is it's not going to be now. You're not going to buy a box today and turn around and sell it in a month. You're not going to make money that way. That's not how it's going to be made.
No.
It's going to be made when you're holding a box of this and you have it in a year and a half when one of these kids that signed an NIL deal that has his Bowman first in the product starts being talked about as a big deal, and everybody's looking in the new product to see where his Bowman first is, and they realize
It's in Bowman U.
it's in the Bowman U box from 22.
Yeah, and that's exactly what my point is too, because everyone loves rookie cards, right? Everyone
Yeah.
wants the rookie cards, and then Bowman has been one of the leading, companies out there for producing these Bowman cards, especially obviously in baseball.
Yeah.
Everyone's gonna go back and look for this guy's first Bowman card.
Yep.
What's his first Bowman card? And they're gonna think it's in this previous year, but really it was 2 years ago in the Bowman U. And yeah, it doesn't have the logo on it, which I know some people are like particular about having the logo. We see with baseball,
Yeah.
how some of the baseball product kind of dips a little bit when it doesn't have the logos on there. But everyone knows Bowman, and everyone knows Bowman first, and that's what people are going to be looking for. If you get those Bowman first autographs, especially in the chrome,
Yeah.
and you send those off to get graded, guys that are good already. They're already good in college. So they're going to be good. There's no secret. You know what I mean? No one's going to come out of nowhere. You know who the good players are in college. Now you have their first Bowman card, and it's a chrome auto. You send out to get graded, you hold on to that thing. We always talk about like quick flips.
Mhm.
How can you make money? And you do a lot of times where you're like, hey, buy this guy right now, in a couple of months you'll be able to flip it. This isn't one of those quick flips.
No.
This is one of the ones that you hold on to for a little bit of time. And like you said, a year or two, and you come back to it and revisit. Because some of these guys are taking off like the Herberts and the Burrows did. People are going to go back looking for those guys' first Bowman cards, and it's in Bowman U.
Well, and that's the discussion to have with football, right? Because, not only did football have this year's draft product, not only did basketball have this year's draft product, but they also have the guys that signed NIL deals that are still in college.
Yeah.
And the difference between basketball and football, to this point, I think it's going to change again, but to this point is basketball has a tendency to be one and done. Football, they're there for 3 years.
Yeah.
So you got guys that are there and they spend some time. You've got C.J. Stroud in this product. You have Spencer Rattler in this product. You have Bryce Young in this product. These are all guys that are supposed to be for the 23 draft class,
Yes.
not the 22.
Yes.
And you got guys on there that are actually in the 24 draft class that
Yeah.
are in this product. What you're finding, guys, is there's autos, there's parallels, just like you do with all the Bowman stuff. And if I tell Jimmy an orange Bowman first auto on a baseline player, it's got some value.
Yeah,
Because this number to 25.
Right.
So great time to be able to grab a product like this, and on top of it, college sports are incredibly fanatic. You have a ton of fanatics out there. You have a ton of people that love their team. So this is also a great opportunity to grab, whereas we don't have this in the other products. You normally can't grab base players and sell base product in a marketplace.
Right.
This is a product, you can crack this product, take every player from Alabama, run a base set out there, throw it up in the marketplace, and someone's going to buy it.
100%.
Because they just want their
They're
team.
diamonds.
Right.
Yeah.
So here's an opportunity for you guys to where you can actually minimize your losses. There's a lot of opportunity to gain. And the boxes hit incredibly well. 2 autos per, plus you're getting a bunch of colorways. The basketball that we ran yesterday, the very first box we opened was a yellow auto to 75, an orange auto to 25, multiple golds,
That's what I mean.
right,
You
to
still have the
50,
good stuff
like
in there.
tons of hits in this product, and for the price point again. So great time to get in on it and to find this product. We do have a little bit of the basketball in store. We will definitely have some stuff moving forward. We're pressing Jimmy to get some more football. We want to do some more football breaks with it. And I know that you're asking in regards to what's considered a rookie card. So the rookie card is still going to be the designation of the player's first time playing in the professional sport with the rookie card designation. I believe that has became the actual rookie card definition anymore. So for example, in baseball, Julio Rodriguez, Bobby Witt Jr., Spencer Torkelson, their rookies are now. O'Neal now. Their rookies are this year. Jaren Duran now. Whereas they have Bowman first. O'Neal's is back in what, 2016?
16, yeah.
Right? 2016 is O'Neal Cruz's because he came out of the Dominican Prospect League, right? So, those firsts, it's kind of like this. It's the Bowman first card in baseball is the gem of the hobby because it's the Bowman first. And it's the chrome, color, auto. Those are the things that matter. Chrome, color, and auto, right? And then the second thing is the rookie card, right? And getting to that step. But the rookie card never rivals the Bowman first. Not the big colorways. The rookie card colors do in autos, but not. If I've got a rookie to 25 auto and I have a Bowman first to 25 auto, the Bowman first is always going to be worth more.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just how the product is.
So we don't know what the other sports are going to bring with football and basketball.
Right.
We're just predicting that this first Bowman card eventually will be the one that's most sought after for these guys. Because guess what's going to happen in 2 years? In 2 years, this Bowman U product is now going to be Bowman football.
Yep.
And Bowman football is now going to have the licensing and everything to go along with it.
And it's going to bring those players into it.
Correct. So
Yep.
we're just predicting that Bowman being so good in baseball
Yep.
that eventually it'll be very good in football and basketball.
Well, and the fact that they're following that blueprint, and that's the key here. And when you go back and look at it, this next draft year, Bryce Young, that's going to be a Bowman rookie card of Bryce Young,
Right.
and his first is going to be in 22.
Yep.
Right, and you also have a prospect card too there. So, good opportunity, inexpensive product for you to be able to make some money in, guys, and that's where we're always trying to set you up is either ways to sell now because it's time to get out of it before it dips, or to get into a product like a Bowman U where you're getting in on the base bottom floor.
Right. And it's cheap.
That's the thing. It's cheap. It's a small risk. If you think about it from a Prism standpoint, because we talked about this, like Prism's always one that you can buy and then it'll be, worth something down the road. That's a $1,600 box. That becomes $2,200, $2,400, right? That's a very nice investment, Scape. This is a $160 box of the Bowman U basketball that with basketball fans, this takes off like we think it is. That could be $500 or $600, and you're literally talking that is 3 to 4 times your investment value. That's where we're trying to set you guys up. That's where we're trying to get you guys to. I think we had Bowman U football was at $250, $160 was roughly the price points in store for the basketball. So guys, it's definitely an inexpensive product, and it's a fun rip. It's fun to rip it. It's a good time. Some other football talk. Deshaun Watson. I know people don't want to talk Deshaun Watson as much, but I do think that it's important to kind of discuss where this is rolling to and what's going on, because from the outside looking in, you're like, I'm tired of hearing of Deshaun Watson. Shouldn't this be done? And let's talk about actually the ramifications of where this is going. So first off, the NFL is modeling the Major League Baseball model with Trevor Bauer. Is what Deshaun Watson, is my first question to you guys, is what Deshaun Watson is being accused of the same crime or equal of a crime to what Deshaun Watson is being accused of? Are they the same? Bauer and Watson. Are they? Is it the same?
No, because in the Bauer situation, there was physical harm done to a female, and I think we're all, Jay and I both have daughters, and you have sons, and I think it is different. Like when you physically harm somebody, it's totally different than, because from what I've heard, I haven't heard anything about Deshaun Watson and any domestic violence, anything like that.
Nothing has
It's
been
all
reported.
been agreed upon sexual activities. Consensual. There's been no rape charges, nothing like that has come with it that I've heard or read. Where there situations that probably were a little less appropriate, and did he overstep the boundaries of a client basis? Yes, 100%. But I haven't heard or seen anything that said that he physically harmed anybody, or did something forcefully. He agreed on a price with the girl, basically getting hookers or however you want to call it. Yes, they came in as a masseuse and they were there to do a job, a service for him. But from everything I'm hearing, they all agreed upon it. and if they didn't agree upon it, they left.
Right.
So,
which is why so many settled, right? Because
Yes.
there's so many of these now. He's settled lawsuits,
Right.
And so with settling the lawsuits, Jay, like, what do you think that does? Now, there's a few of them still lingering out there, and we just heard news about the Texans, right?
Yeah, they're actually filing a lawsuit against the Texans. It actually just got filed today. We saw that right before we went live. It said the Texans are being sued by the Watson accusers because the lawsuit alleges that the team enabled Deshaun Watson's behavior towards multiple women during the massage sessions.
Now, that stems because apparently some of these massage sessions occurred on Texans property.
So now that's something totally different.
Correct.
So if I'm in my personal life, if I want to hire somebody off the internet or
Yeah.
whatever I do, and they come over to my house or they come to a hotel,
Yeah.
and I hire them to be a masseuse, and then I say, hey, I'm also into this. Would you do this for this? That's something. Is it against the law? But yes. Is it that person saying no? No, it's totally different in a workplace. Now, if your workplace knew about it,
Right.
that's something totally different.
Right.
The Texans, if they knew that this was going on and they were allowing team employees to be put in that situation,
That's a different story.
totally different story,
Right.
and they should be sued and they should be held accountable.
So the situation here becomes potentially being docked draft picks, which means could they actually lose their trade capital, which is one of the possibilities here, that the trade capital that they got for Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson is being discussed as potentially a 1-year suspension. You now have a team, the Browns, who did the very most Brown thing they could do,
Yeah.
which is they went and mortgaged the future, pissed off their current quarterback, and now have no draft picks and potentially no quarterback for the season. All of this so they could start Jacoby Brissett, which I believe none of us think that makes them a contender. So the situation becomes here, Deshaun Watson, I think it's fair to say that none of us think that he did anything grossly illegal as much as he did things that might be morally not right. And where the NFL takes the morale standpoint, and if they are going to take this and press this up against the Bauer, if he gets a suspension for a year, I would guess the next step would be Deshaun Watson suing the NFL, and that now becomes, does Deshaun Watson ever play again?
Yeah,
Because that's a real conversation.
Because now you're sitting out 2 years in a row,
Right.
And last year was because the Texans said we're not going to play
Yeah.
him while this is going on. So they took it upon themselves to do it, and like you had said, he's not going to get time served.
Right.
Like he
However,
already
they
sat.
did pay him though last year.
Yeah.
They
But
did.
no,
They
the
paid
Texans
him not
paid
to
him
play.
last year. But
Yeah.
here, if the NFL sets a suspension, he will not be paid the guaranteed
that's
money
the
in the
difference.
verbiage of the contract, and that's a big deal because the reason that whole trade happened was because he was going and doing that specific moment
Right.
of, I'm going to get my guaranteed money here and I'm going to be guaranteed. Now the guarantee doesn't happen. So we knock the Browns. The Browns still have that capital available to do something, which means, there's no secret. The very, very first thing that happens today, if he is suspended a year, tomorrow, Jimmy Garoppolo will be a Brown.
Yeah, I was going to say.
There's no doubt in my
I'm
mind.
glad you
They
brought
will
that up
send
because-
anybody they have because they're going to have to shut this fan base down because the fan
They're
base
gonna-
will destroy that front office.
They're gonna cut Baker, and
Yep.
he'll end up going to Carolina or like Seattle,
Yep.
one of those two teams, and they'll cut Baker and they'll take the loss, obviously,
because they'll have the money to play with because
Yes.
they don't have
Now
it
they have
now.
no money to play with, so
Right.
they have to cut him, and then they're gonna go out and get Jimmy Garoppolo and have to work
Yep.
out a deal with San Fran, but he'll be a Brown if that happens.
Yeah, and
100%, I agree with that.
it's just so. This is why I wanted to bring the topic up because it's not that we want to sit here and talk about Deshaun Watson. I want to talk about the football aspect. I want to talk about where this rolls off because that becomes even bigger discussions because now he goes to a team that potentially has a roster that can contend.
They are.
Right?
I think
So-
everybody in the room thinks the Browns are
Yeah.
all around.
with Deshaun Watson.
Yes, they were.
I think with
always lacking.
Garoppolo, they're
I think he
respectful.
gets the job done.
Right?
They'll be in the mix with that running.
He's
game.
a winning quarterback.
They have
Yeah.
They have a good defense. They got a great running game. They'll be in the mix. The division's not very good.
It's open.
Yeah.
The division's
In fact, if I'm not mistaken, does Deshaun Watson have a winning record in the NFL? I don't think he does.
No, I don't think he does. He's
Jimmy Garoppolo does.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Is that when is this going to happen? Will Jimmy Garoppolo have enough time to come in and get acclimated? You got to remember, their number one now is Amari Cooper. So, like, he hasn't had any time with Amari Cooper, nor has, like, Baker Mayfield, because he hasn't been going. So Jacoby Brissett's the only one that's actually thrown a ball to Amari Cooper so far. And you have guys like Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, and even Ernest Johnson.
Let's say even argue with this with the 17-game schedule.
Yeah.
Let's say Jimmy G doesn't even play for the first 4 games of the season. That team's still going to be looked at as a contender
because they have a good offensive line, good running game, and a good defense.
Right.
You just need somebody to come in. I would dare to say that Jacoby Brissett's not going to light the world on fire, but I think that they'll still be contending with Jacoby Brissett because all he has to do is not make mistakes.
He showed you with the Colts he's not going to go out and lose the game.
He doesn't have to throw for 300 yards.
Right.
He just has to go out and throw for 150 to 200 yards and not throw interceptions or fumble.
Right.
And all of us owe Jacoby Brissett the biggest thank you in the world, because if he doesn't get his lung punctured by the training staff on the side, we don't even know who Herbert is until this year.
Oh no, that wasn't Brissett. That wasn't Brissett.
Yes, it was.
No. It wasn't Jacoby Brissett. It was
Tyrod Taylor.
Tyrod
Taylor. Oh,
yeah.
geez.
But
right.
what we will say,
that's just like
no. But here you got to think Brissett came into the Colts, started for the Colts. Remember, like starts for the Colts. No one thought that he was going to be the starter for the Colts. Came in and started for the Colts, and the Colts made the playoffs.
Yeah,
and they were good.
Jacoby Brissett is actually not as bad as everyone's bashing for.
He's not.
He just has to be a game manager. He's not going to be a guy that you're looking at in the fantasy world or even like in the hobby world. As far as like Deshaun Watson goes, in fantasy football, I'm not touching him.
But Deshaun gets the year suspension. Jimmy G goes there. In my opinion, his card market doubles. Because he's on a contender, and it's going to be talked about nonstop.
Let's talk about what Cleveland's going to do.
Everything possible.
Because they'll do something stupid, and they'll trade they'll send Nick Chubb, Nick Chubb will go to the Niners, and then they'll return who was upset with Trey Sermon and
Kareem
whatever,
Hunt, who would be traded
or Kareem Hunt
because Kareem Hunt's in the last year of his deal, and they're talking about maybe releasing him in that cap space. So what if they trade Kareem Hunt to the Niners for?
Right, and the Niners would have to return a running back. That would happen.
Well, they have 19 of them.
They do.
Jeff Wilson, anyone. Trace
What I'm saying is that this all of a sudden creates all this chaos, but all the discussion that we thought coming into the beginning of training camp would actually be about Tua, right, is going to shift to Jimmy G. And that attention is going to be there for Jimmy G, which in our market, in the card world, is what have you done for me now?
Right.
So we all know, we saw Trubisky's prices double and triple just because he signed a contract with the Steelers. Jimmy G is going to, he just showed that he can win in the playoffs.
Right.
Played hurt and still played respectfully, right? So he's a guy that I think that the hobby is going to latch onto, and that Browns fan base is going to go, well, he's a winning quarterback. We got somebody that can play. I don't know. That's going to be interesting. And then that elevates Trey Lance, right? Trey Lance elevates. And then the Baker Mayfield movement now becomes, does Baker become valued because he goes to Seattle, which is where I think he would end up landing?
I don't think he doubles value anywhere.
I don't think he doubles value, but I think he would increase a little bit from what he is right now. Right now, he's being held as a player that's not going to be on an NFL roster.
Wherever Baker Mayfield goes, he's not going to a contender. He won't go to a contender. He's going to go to a team that's going to lose some more, and then they're going to look at Baker as more of a loser again.
Right.
So his card's going to continue to go down.
Right.
So his cards are going to stay very similar. Yes, you might see a little.
And that's where that is in the market, right?
For a week or
two, that spike, and
then they start losing.
Yeah,
because he's going to go to a shitty team like we all did.
Seattle,
Carolina, somebody that's really bad.
Yeah,
and then he's going to lose again, and everybody's going to be like, "Well, Baker Mayfield doing his thing. He just sucks."
Could he beat out Daniel Jones?
Possibly.
That's an interesting thought. That's an interesting thought. And is that a team that would take a flyer there?
The last year of his deal, why would you not take a flyer on Baker Mayfield?
Yes, so they did. The Giants took this year off at quarterback. So it just shows you they didn't go out and get anybody in the draft. They didn't like anybody in the draft, so they're riding Daniel Jones again.
I don't think teams that drafted quarterbacks in the draft liked anybody in the draft.
No, they didn't. But this next year is going to be loaded with quarterbacks.
Yeah,
so
you guys got to tank though. You guys can't go try to win.
We're not going to tank. We just are that bad that we're not going to win games.
Well, and Saquon's trying to say that he wants to stay there. So Saquon's saying, "I'm getting the best health I've ever been in."
The worst thing they can do is pay this guy any amount of money.
Saquon's going to get paid. He's going to talk them into. I'm telling you right now, he's going to talk because he's already coming out and saying how good he's feeling.
Yep.
They're already saying he looks fresh. Don't bash him because he really only got injured like one big injury like for the 1 year, and it kind of lingered over to the next year. But he's only been like one big injury. It hasn't been like a bunch of injuries. It's been
all
one
I know
big
is
injury.
we've seen it time and time again
I
throughout
hope
the
you guys pay
NFL.
Christian McCaffrey.
If you pay your running back big time money,
Yeah.
you have no chance.
I hope you guys
And
pay.
unless he's a truck named Derrick Henry, there's no reason
But
to
you
throw
still
him
have
out.
no chance to win. How many Super Bowls do you have? None.
And I'm worried about Derrick Henry. Honestly, I have a man crush on Derrick Henry in my fantasy leagues, and I'm really
As
worried
you
about
should.
him.
The
He's
guy's
27 years old.
As you should. The guy for the first
But they're
6
giving
years
him
he's
too
been
many
in the league.
carries.
Yeah, he
They're
carries the
giving
ball
him
35 times a game.
So you can see, guys, how quickly one player having legal issues, movement in the market, just sprung an entire conversation about multiple players,
Right.
which is exactly why I wanted to talk about Deshaun Watson, because he is literally the stick holding up
Yep.
the fort from falling.
I can't wait to.
And when he does, chaos is going to ensue. And we all know this. We thought that that basketball this year won the offseason, right? We thought that basketball had the offseason won because of all the movement and discussion. I'll tell you right now, NFL, not even close to done with being able to win the
NFL rules the
offseason.
United States of
It
America.
does, and
They
that's
do.
why I said there is no
Does
off season.
not matter.
It doesn't matter.
Now, every
yeah.
single day we could come in here and we could talk NFL.
Right.
Everybody would be intrigued.
Well, and I think from this point forward, we're now at the point we are going to be talking NFL every single week.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be talking about these movement pieces. We're going to be talking about guys like Jimmy G. We're going to be talking
why
about
haven't
other.
the Giants made an offer for Jimmy G? For God's sake, is he not like?
What-
Wouldn't that be a huge
Besides-
upgrade for
They're
that
not
team?
trying to-
Besides
They're
moving
trying to-
Kadarius Toney, who are they going to send?
I don't know. Like, figure it out. Like
Darius Slayton.
anybody,
Another guy
Right?
that's in the
you can
doghouse.
figure it out.
I'm telling you right now, the Giants are not trying to win. That's the point. They don't want to come out and say, "Hey, we're tanking for a quarterback."
It's kind of what the Lions did, right? But
Yes.
the Lions didn't make
Or-
any movement. They did the Jared Goff deal because that got them out of Stafford's deal,
right.
The big money.
right? Because they had just
But
signed
they
that
know
big
that Goff
Stafford
is not the
contract,
long-term
right?
answer.
Right.
But they're putting pieces around Goff.
I love it. Jesse says chaos. Let's go.
Yeah.
That is 100% true. I love the fact that is.
It's great. But
well-
the Giants are trying to lose. That's why they're not going on again.
Some chaos I wanted to talk about is here in Vegas, as soon as the Stanley Cup is hoisted, immediately every Vegas fan has the Vegas Golden Knights winning
Next
a
year.
championship this next year. Congratulations goes out to the Colorado Avalanche. I haven't seen this picture in a long time from the Avalanche. Last time I remember this, Patrick Waugh was
22
hoisting the
years
cup,
ago, I
right?
think. Yeah.
Patrick Waugh was posting the cup. I'm going to tell you now, you don't want to bore you too much with hockey talk, guys, but I will tell you this. As a hockey nerd, like liking hockey, this team is probably one of the best teams I've ever seen take the ice. Cale Makar is unbelievable. He is incredible. And to put this into understanding, the last time a team after a championship was favored as heavy as they are was the Detroit Pistons when they won 3 in a row. They are favored by a landslide to win again next year because almost their entire roster is under contract.
But no one is going to be talking about it. That's the bad
Well,
part.
ESPN does have the rights now, so it is getting talked about more, and it is getting discussed more than it
I'm
has in
gonna
the
say
past.
like Vegas, like they call Vegas, they're trying to be like a hockey town, but really we're a Golden Knights town because once
100%.
Golden Knights is out,
We're not talking
it reminds
about
me of that SpongeBob meme
Right.
that nobody cares. That nobody
Right.
cares.
You know who's number 2, though, on the list of favorites for next year?
No, nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows ever you. that looked at it.
Toronto Maple Leafs. And Toronto just got the hockey's best player. Magically, I don't know who did what to make that happen because I don't think Matthews should have won it this year, but he did. But those are your favorites instilled in next year. But that favorite being so big, this might be a betting opportunity to grab a couple of those teams, because what we know in hockey is teams don't repeat as well. They may play well and then do what the Lightning does, which is win 1 out of 3. Right? And, get
Like,
there,
you're
but
gonna be in the
good enough to
playoffs
get there, but
every
not good
year.
enough to be,
Well,
So
hockey's one of those games that's like it's so hard to keep the same line. It's so many injuries, so many things that are happening.
exactly.
It's very hard.
That's
to
what happened to the
keep
Knights this
line.
year. We were so decimated with injuries,
Yep.
right?
We never played the same guys.
we didn't.
We had more guys on the injured reserve than any other team. Like, it was crazy this year. We didn't get to play any of our players together.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. Avalanche are going to be good. They have probably the best player in hockey with Nathan McKinnon.
Yeah.
He's probably just under Connor McDavid, if not 1-2, 1A, 1B. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, he's incredibly that team's fast, and that's the other thing. And had a local favorite as well instilled onto their squad, who just goes around and wins cups everywhere it goes. So, guys, so if you haven't done it, the giveaway's been done, guys. But we have opened buy sell trade in our Game Day Sports Cards group. So now on Facebook, if you join Game Day Sports Cards on there, you can sell your cards. We also let you line and razz. So if you guys aren't familiar with doing that, reach out to one of us admin. We'll explain it to you. But essentially, you can take your card, put it up, and offer it at a auction, or not at an auction, as a random at a lower price point for someone to win the card, which is kind of cool. So if you have a $100 card, you can do 10 spots at $10. You would get the $100 for the card, and the card would go to a $10 winner. So someone could win that card for $10. That is an option as well. Those are available. So make sure you guys get involved. Also, we have Breaks in the Breaks group, and we are breaking live on Whatnot every single day on Game Day LV. Game Day Las Vegas is starting to get some steam behind it, and going to start having some shows on a regular basis. And you'll also be able to find us on the Drip app starting on July 1st. We will be on a regular on the Drip app as well. So, guys, lots of places for you guys to get product, find us, buy cards, even if you're not in store. And, of course, you can reach out to us anytime. If there's anything that myself, Jimmy can do for you, or anybody on our team, please reach out to them and let us know. Anything else for you guys this week on episode number, 36?
No, maybe next week we can talk about Kyrie to the Lakers.
That's
We'll say that
really
for-
quick.
he
No.
hasn't been traded.
Let's talk about Kyrie really quick though. Kyrie is at a point where he has been given the green light from Brooklyn to pursue trade and sign deals. And as you mentioned, the Lakers are in the discussions with a potential Westbrook, which is probably a trade and then release deal, I would guess. But then Kevin Durant hasn't said anything, so now they're thinking that Durant actually wants Westbrook there, and he's pissed that the reports are saying that it might be that. I don't know. I don't know what to play with this. And then the whole situation with him not playing, how does that bode with another team? Guys, I don't know. What do you think here?
Well, from what I've read, and even just this morning, as early as this morning, when they dropped a Woj bomb, as they like to call it.
Woj bomb.
Kyrie Irving has been given that status to go check it out. Right now, the Lakers are the only one. They said outside of the Lakers, there are currently no known teams planning a pursuit of a sign and trade deal for Kyrie Irving, according to Adrian Wojnarowski.
If you're the Heat, would you sign Kyrie Irving? If you're the Miami Heat?
I think every team would love to sign him. They just don't like what comes along with him.
His personality.
Everything that comes along with Kyrie. We just heard today that he was holding practice after practice for everybody. So you're Steve Nash and you're coaching the team, and then you guys, all the coaching staff leaves, and then Kyrie's like, all right, guys, we're going to run some drills. We're going to, what is he doing?
Yeah, it's
who does, I get staying after and working on a couple things with your shooting coach or whatever, but holding after.
It's different if you're Kobe and you're sitting shooting, 300 jumpers because you want to, perfect that.
Correct.
But not holding a team.
Or getting everybody together to do it.
Kobe would just stay in the gym and shoot 300 jumpers. If you want to join him, okay, but he's not holding a practice.
That's it's an interesting. There's definitely an element that comes with him that
He's
just
such a weird guy.
And it's so bad because
Yeah.
I think on most people's radars, and let's be fair, skill set wise, he's probably the best point guard that's ever played the game.
Oh, nobody's going to doubt. That's why I said everybody in the NBA, all 30 teams, would love to have Kyrie Irving.
Right.
If he came to
Who
them
has
and was
the-
just Kyrie Irving, They would love it.
Who
They can't
has
handle everything else.
who has the leadership as a coach that could take him on?
Phil Jackson, who currently
Like,
is coach.
right? No. To
Maybe
me,
Popovich.
was
But
who I was
I think
thinking.
Popovich is too liberal for him. 'Cause
I don't think he wants to deal with
Right.
this.
Yeah, because Kyrie's on the kind of the other side of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Because he
he
didn't do the
thinks
back
or
stuff,
this- or this
and then Popovich is more like the liberal side where he
Yeah.
wants. So I don't know if they wouldn't mesh well either.
I don't think they would mesh well. But here's the thing: is that's why I would love to see them with the Lakers because that would be the greatest show in town.
Oh, God,
Like
that'd be so much
LeBron
fun.
and Kyrie already had their title run right in
Yeah.
Cleveland, and then afterwards they immediately started talking trash about each other.
Now, could you imagine if they got together, put it together, and ran one off?
They're not.
Just what if they
Spoiler
did?
alert,
Because that would
they're
be rival that last Lakers championship
They
with.
won't get along long enough to do that. They won't. They won't get along with each other long enough.
I mean, that's what happened to Shaq and Kobe at the end, and they still went and won that one last championship, right?
Yeah.
Shaq
One
and-
last
Shaq
run.
and
We didn't
Kobe
like
is
each
not
other, but
LeBron
we're
and
still going to
Kyrie.
go.
Shaq and Kobe's not LeBron.
I just think Kyrie's way too far on the other end to where people don't like him.
Do you think that the Lakers would make this move if it would piss off LeBron to get LeBron to try to push his way out so they could get assets for him?
No, because when I'm hearing LeBron is the one that wants him.
Wants him?
LeBron is the one that wants Kyrie,
Gosh.
and they're okay because Westbrook would be part
This
of the
is
deal.
where we need the 80s sitcom where the to be continued just stops in the middle of Jay's sentence.
Yeah.
And it just says to be continued. Because I believe that this topic is absolutely to be continued. We're going to have to see how this falls and then where this goes
Let's do it.
and what kind of nonsense this is going to create.
Can't wait.
All right, guys, thank you so much for being here. And, of course, Jimmy, you take it away.
Let's go Monster.
Let's go, guys.